Hey guys, this is Ryan with Ready, Set, Throw, and we're here in beautiful Troy, Michigan, Firefighters Park to talk about one of the most misunderstood aspects of disc golf, and that's the flight rating system. Here we go. So years ago, the flight rating system was developed by Innova to help explain how a disc should fly before you even throw it, considering that you have the appropriate amount of power and that the disc is released flat. So you'll see these as a series of 4 numbers on most discs. Discraft has a different kind of way they represent it, but for the most part, these numbers have been adapted as standard in the industry. Before we get started, it's important to understand that anytime I'm using a direction, say right or left, I'm talking about a right-handed, backhanded thrower. So that's somebody like me. I like to throw with my right hand. If you're a left-handed thrower, all those directions will be reversed for you. Or if you like to throw forehand, those directions would also be reversed for you. So keep that in mind as you're watching this video. Possibly the most misunderstood number, and the most important to understand right off the bat, is the speed number. Now, it's very common to think, well, if I get a disc that has a higher speed, I'm going to be able to throw it further, or it's going to come off my hand faster, and that's not necessarily true. I think they should rename speed power. That's the power requirement for you to get the disc to fly exactly how it's advertised with the flight ratings. So for example, this is an R Pro Boss by Innova. It's a speed 13 disc. This is a terrible disc for a beginner. Although a lot of people will go to the store and pick this disc up right away thinking that they're going to get maximum distance and they're going to fulfill their potential with a faster speed disc. A beginner could normally throw a mid-range or a speed 5 or speed 6 disc just as far and with more accuracy than they could a Boss or a higher speed disc. My recommendation for beginners is to always start with a single-digit disc. Don't buy anything speed 10 or higher, because more than likely when you start to throw and you release that disc from your hand, you're not going to have enough power to get that disc to fly like you want. Glide is one of the most difficult pieces of the flight rating system to understand, but essentially what it is the higher the glide number, the longer the disc will tend to float through the air before it starts its fade. For beginners buying new discs, I recommend a glide number at 4, 5, or 6. Higher glide numbers are going to help you develop longer, more sustained flights. The third number on the flight rating chart is turn. Turn ranges from 1 all the way down to -5. So a 1 turn is going to turn to the left pretty hard, and a -5 is going to turn hard to the right. Again, opposite if you're throwing forehand or left-handed. A disc with a lot of turns, so let's say a -3 or a -4, is going to be much more sensitive in the wind, and I'm going to talk about that in a separate video. Discs with a lower turn number, such as a -3 or 4, are going to be more forgiving for a beginner, because beginners tend not to release the disc flat. It's more natural to release the disc on an angle pointing down, because that's kind of how we've learned to throw frisbees our whole life, but disc golf discs are far different. So a disc with a little bit of a turn on it, or a -2, -3, are going to tend to be a little bit more forgiving and are going to actually flip up to flat if released with the right amount of power. If I'm new, I'm trying a disc golf disc out that's got a much lower turn rating. So I'm going to go ahead and throw 4 mid-range discs. This is a slight downhill hole, and they're going to progressively have more turns. So they're going to start at 0 and they're going to work their way down to -3. Ooh, hurt myself on that one. I rolled my ankle. All right, so let's talk about fade with one of my favorite discs, the Innova Rhino. So fade is the very last of the 4 numbers, and essentially what that tells you is how far it will turn to either the left or the right. Now for right-hand backhanded throwers, it's going to go to the left at the very end of the flight. So it's almost like that meat hook at the end of the flight. So this Rhino, for example, is a speed 2, it's a glide of 1, turn of 0, and then the fade is 3. So I can expect this disc to fly relatively straight and start its turn relatively early, and it'll be a deep hook. This here is a DX Rock. Rock is a classic disc, it's been around a long time. Its fade rating is a 3. It's a speed 4, speed 4, glide 4, no turn, and a 3 fade. So this hole is interesting because you have a basket that's sitting behind trees and an opening to the right. So I'm gonna try to throw this disc to float straight and fade left. I think a 3 fade is gonna be just perfect to get it to hook right into that basket. One factor that affects flight rating that isn't on the disc necessarily is the weight of the disc. Now you can find the weight of the disc on the backs of some of these discs. It'll say exactly what the weight is. It's important to understand that what weight does to flight characteristics, it makes it easier to throw to that power level needed to get that disc to fly the right way. So I have 3 different R-Pro bosses. One's 160 grams, another one's 150 grams, and this one's extremely light at 130 grams. So you'll see I'm gonna throw all of these flat on level. They should all fly a little bit differently, and as the discs get lighter, they should turn a little bit more to the right. So let's see how that works out. Oh no! So I don't know if you noticed there, but the red one, 150 grams, I hadn't thrown this one before, but this is beat in quite a bit. So that's another factor that's gonna affect the way a disc flies. Even though this is heavier than the pink one, you'll notice it rolled right over, meaning that this is a really understable disc, probably due to its weight and due to the fact that it's been used quite a bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to throw this one more time, but I'm gonna see if I can put it on a hyzer line and get it to flip up to flat and avoid all that turn that it had to turn it into a roller. Let's see if I can do that. Oh my goodness, that is understable. That's like a -10 turn. Now speed and glide will generally stay the same, but turn and fade are dramatically affected by how beat in discs are. So I've got a relatively new DX Rock that I threw earlier, and I have a very beat in rock that I've had for maybe 10 years that, because it's hit so many trees and dinged so many baskets, the nose is actually angled down a little bit, and it's caused the flight path to develop significantly more turn and less fade. So I'm gonna throw these both about the same velocity, and you'll get to see exactly how they fly different just based on how beat in or how worn the disc is. Hey, you're still here. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe for more disc golf content. Bye.